people seem to climb fastest. You see it everywhere. The ruthless colleague gets the promotion. The cutthroat competitor dominates the market. This raises a hard question. Is morality just holding you back? Most people think the answer is yes. But there's a hidden system underneath all of this that changes everything. It's not about good versus evil. It's about two competing mindsets running your life. Once you see them, you'll understand why power works the way it does. We're going to use Nietzsche's framework, not as ancient philosophy, but as a modern map. You'll learn why hesitation creates a vacuum that the ruthless fill, and more importantly, you'll discover the third path, a way to build real power without losing your integrity. The two moral systems that run your life. Think about the last time you felt held back. Maybe you hesitated to ask for a raise, or you didn't confront someone who was taking advantage of you. That feeling isn't random. It's a signal of which moral operating system is running your mind right now, one designed to keep you stuck rather than move you forward. Nietzsche called these master morality and slave morality, but think of them as two mindsets, the creator and the reactor. Master morality is about defining your own worth. It's the mindset of someone who creates their own rules. To them, something is good if it helps them create, act, and build power. They don't ask for permission to lead, they simply step forward. Think about a startup founder who ignores what the industry says works. While competitors follow the same old playbook, this founder builds something completely different. Something that looks risky at first, but actually wins the market. They don't wait for approval from the experts. They prove themselves through action. Their value comes from what they actually do, not from what others think. This isn't arrogance. It's taking full control of your own life, something most people never do. But here's what's wild. Most people think master morality is about being ruthless or selfish. It's not. It's about this one thing, not needing permission to define your own worth. That's it. Everything else flows from that. Think about the last time you hesitated to speak up in a meeting because you were worried about what people would think. That hesitation? That's not you being polite. That's slave morality running your brain. Now, slave morality is the opposite. It's a reactive mindset. It values humility, pity, and obedience, the only weapons the powerless have. The reactor waits for the world to be fair. They believe if they're good enough and kind enough, the world will reward them. But here's the trap. By calling power evil, this mindset leaves a vacuum. While the reactor hesitates, waiting for approval, the creator takes action. The real conflict in your life isn't between being a good person and a bad person. It's the conflict between creation and reaction. Are you building your own value system, or are you reacting to the value systems imposed on you? The worst people succeed because they operate on the creator's system. They aren't burdened by the need for external permission. They see a goal and they move. The reactor, stuck waiting for a fair world that doesn't exist, gets left behind. This isn't a moral judgment, it's a psychological reality. The system that rewards decisiveness will always outperform the system built on hesitation. Why hesitation is your greatest liability? Hesitation isn't just a bad habit, it's a survival killer. For most of human history, the split-second difference between acting and waiting could mean life or death. That wiring is still in your brain. In any competitive environment, your career, your business, your social life, hesitation is a signal of weakness that others instinctively detect and exploit. The ruthless have a competitive advantage because they've bypassed the emotional friction that holds you back. It's not that they lack emotions. They have a lower sensitivity to the fear and social anxiety that cause hesitation. Consider two equally qualified employees eyeing the same promotion. One hesitates, waiting for their hard work to be noticed. The other proactively schedules a meeting with leadership, presents their value, and asks for the role directly. The hesitant person watches from the sidelines as opportunity passes them by. And the worst part? They know exactly what they should have done. That regret, that's the cost of hesitation. This connects directly to one of the most dangerous psychological traps, and it's probably running your life right now without you even knowing it. Most successful people figured out how to break free from this trap, but the majority never do. It's a cognitive illusion so powerful that it keeps intelligent, hardworking people stuck for decades. Here's what it is, and more importantly, here's how to spot it in yourself. This is the just world fallacy, the belief that the world is fair, that good people get rewarded and bad people get punished. It's a comforting story we tell ourselves, but it's a mental trick that makes you passive. Look at two entrepreneurs starting with identical resources. One follows the fair play rulebook, builds slowly, waits for organic growth, expects the market to reward quality. The other aggressively pursues every advantage: strategic partnerships, aggressive marketing, bending rules when necessary. The fair play entrepreneur often watches their more aggressive counterpart capture market share while they're still waiting for their fair reward. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The world doesn't owe you fairness, and the sooner you accept that, the sooner you actually start winning. This isn't cynicism, it's clarity. The people who understand this aren't bitter, they're free. They stop waiting for the world to be fair and start building systems that work regardless. The idea of fairness is, in many ways, a social construct, a narrative designed to maintain order rather than reflect reality. And if you believe in it, you wait for your turn, expecting hard work alone to be rewarded. But power is rarely given, it's taken. The ruthless understand this at a gut level. They don't expect the world to be fair, they expect to have to fight for what they want. This acceptance of reality is their strategic edge. The difference between ruthlessness and decisive action is crucial. Ruthlessness is action without a moral compass, often driven by insecurity, a need to dominate others to feel powerful. Decisive action, on the other hand, is action driven by purpose. It's the ability to make a hard choice, to fire a toxic employee, to end a draining partnership, to invest in yourself when others doubt you, without being paralyzed by guilt or the need for everyone to like you. The creator mindset allows for decisive action. The reactive mindset keeps you stuck in hesitation, afraid of making the wrong move or being perceived as bad. Your greatest liability isn't a lack of skill, it's the gap between knowing what to do and actually doing it. That gap is where your power gets lost. The third path, beyond victim or villain. So where does this leave you? You see the trap of the reactive mindset, and you understand the temporary advantage of the ruthless. But the choice isn't binary. You don't have to become a villain to avoid being a victim. There is a third path, and it's the most powerful one. This is what Nietzsche pointed toward with the concept of the Übermensch, the individual who transcends this entire conflict. The Übermensch isn't a tyrant. The tyrant is still reactive. Their need for power comes from a deep insecurity, a need to dominate others to feel secure. The Übermensch doesn't need to crush others because their power comes from creation, not domination. They build something greater than themselves, whether it's a business, an idea, or a personal transformation that makes manipulation unnecessary. Here's what this actually looks like. An Übermensch doesn't need to manipulate because their power is self-generated. They can walk away from a toxic relationship, not out of spite, but because it drains the energy needed for their creation. They can make an unpopular decision because their compass is calibrated to their own values, not public opinion. This sounds like arrogance, but it's the opposite. Arrogance needs validation. The Übermensch doesn't. They're too busy building something greater than themselves to care about being liked. This path requires building internal power. It means consciously embracing discomfort and strategic risk. The reactive person avoids conflict at all costs. The ruthless person creates conflict to dominate. The self-directed person only uses conflict when it's needed for their goals. They can walk away from a toxic relationship not out of spite, but because it drains the energy needed for their purpose. They can make an unpopular decision because their compass is calibrated to their own values, not public opinion. This is controlled ruthlessness, the ability to make hard, clean cuts with purpose, not cruelty. There's a specific skill that separates people who navigate power without losing their integrity from those who either get crushed or become corrupt. It's not what you'd think. It's not about being smarter or more aggressive. It's about understanding something about other people that most never figure out. Once you have this skill, you can read a room, anticipate moves, and negotiate from a position of strength, without manipulation. Let me show you what it is and how it works. The key to this is developing strategic empathy. This isn't the same as feeling sorry for people, which makes you weak. Strategic empathy means understanding another person's motives, fears, and desires with clear thinking. Imagine negotiating a salary increase. Instead of pleading your case emotionally, you research what the company truly values. Maybe they're losing talent to competitors, or they have a critical project deadline. You frame your request around solving their problem, not just your needs. You anticipate their objections because you understand their constraints. Result? You don't just get the raise, you get more than you asked for because you solved their problem, not just yours. Strategic empathy allows you to see the game being played around you. You can anticipate a manipulator's move because you understand their insecurity drives them to control others. You can navigate a negotiation not by being nicer, but by understanding what the other person truly values. This is how you compete without becoming corrupt. You see the board, you understand the players, but you play by a higher set of rules that you've defined for yourself. You stop trying to be the good guy in a story written by someone else, and you start writing your own story. The sustainable power of creation. Here's the paradox that most people miss. The people who seem to have the most power often have the least security, and the people who build real, lasting power often look like they're moving slower. But there's a reason for this, and it's the difference between playing a finite game and an infinite game. Most people don't understand this distinction, which is why they either burn out or get burned. Here's what actually creates durable power. Why does this third path actually lead to more durable success? Because exploitative power is incredibly fragile. The ruthless person who climbs by manipulation and force builds their kingdom on sand. Consider the executive who rules through intimidation. They might achieve short-term results, but they create a culture of fear where innovation dies and loyalty disappears. When market conditions shift or a crisis hits, they have no team willing to go the extra mile. Their power collapses because it was built on compliance, not commitment. They create enemies. They foster resentment. Their power is entirely dependent on maintaining control over others, which is an exhausting, full-time job. One misstep, one challenger who isn't afraid, and the entire structure can collapse. This is why exploitative power is incredibly fragile. It creates enemies and fosters resentment, making collapse inevitable when challenges arise. Compare that to someone who builds sustainable power through genuine value creation. They don't rule through fear, they lead through value. And when challenges come, their team fights for them, not against them. Their power isn't fragile, it gets stronger under pressure. Why? Because it's built on respect, not fear. The problem is, most people never figure out how to build this kind of power. They're stuck oscillating between playing it safe and playing dirty. But there's a framework that shows you exactly how to navigate this. If you want to see the specific strategies that separate people who build real power from those who burn out or become corrupt, subscribe to Think Power. We break down the psychology and the tactics in every video. Real, sustainable power comes from creation. When you create genuine value, whether it's a business that solves a real problem, a skill that makes you indispensable, or a relationship built on mutual respect, you become anchored in reality. Your power isn't something you take from others, it's something you generate and offer. This makes you anti-fragile. Challenges and competition don't break you, they force you to create better value. People are drawn to you not out of fear, but because you have something they need or admire. This is the difference between playing a finite game and an infinite game. The ruthless play a finite game of wins and losses, of dominating others until they themselves are dominated. The self-directed creator plays the infinite game of continuous improvement and value creation. One is exhausting, the other is energizing. The goal isn't to win against others, it's to keep playing and improving your own game forever. Power is best understood as a tool for self-mastery, not for domination. The ultimate power isn't controlling a boardroom, it's mastering your own mind, habits, and reactions. It's the power to focus when needed, to stay calm in chaos, and to act with purpose instead of reacting from emotion. Power is rarely given, but it's not always taken. The strongest power is built, created through value, not taken from others. When your primary focus is internal mastery and value creation, your external influence grows naturally as a byproduct. You stop chasing power directly, and instead, you become powerful by virtue of your competence, your integrity, and your ability to create. Conclusion and key takeaway. So, why do the worst people seem to succeed? They succeed in the short term because they exploit a system that rewards decisiveness over hesitation. They operate on a creator's mindset, while many are trapped in a reactor's trap, waiting for a fair world that will never arrive. But their success is a temporary illusion. The real goal isn't to become ruthless, it's to transcend the entire reactive mindset. Your power doesn't come from mimicking the worst, but from courageously creating your own values and building systems that generate value for yourself and others. That is the truth about power. It's the ultimate form of self-mastery. Here's the truth. Understanding power is one thing. Actually building it is another. The creators who win aren't the ones who know this stuff.